Hey, what's good, fam? It's Tuesdays with Tawana. What's going on? I am Dr. Tad, Rev T, your host and your curator for Tuesdays with Tawana. We do this to build community one episode at a time. This is a vodcast. Hey, Mother Carolyn, always good to see you. We do this as a vodcast, and it's then later posted as a podcast, so you can watch this beautiful video or you can listen to the beautiful voices inserted into this narrative where we talk about building community, we talk about healing, we talk about fun stuff, we talk about serious stuff, and everything in between, because this is just what we do and how we do it. So it's such a pleasure to have you with me, and we are going to do more engagement hopefully today, because there are some things that I want to talk about, but I want to hear from you. I want to insert your voice and your thoughts and your feelings into this narrative because, yeah, there is just a lot going on, and I would love to hear from you. What's going on, sis? Oh, please, no apologies necessary. I love you more. Tanisha is a huge supporter of her big sister and of this podcast slash vodcast, and I am so grateful for the regulars like Mother Carolyn and Tony that come through and support me. So with that, just want to just remind you, today is the last day to purchase my book. Sorry about that. This is the last day to get it at $19.99. So feel free to scan the QR code if you haven't purchased already. Yes, I saw it. Thank you, Tanisha, for supporting. I definitely appreciate it. Tanisha said, I got it. The book is You Are Not Your Diagnosis, and it is a reflective journey of healing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, it doesn't have to be about cancer or a cancer diagnosis, but this is just offering you an opportunity to just to be who you are in the midst of whatever it is that you're going through. And I want to shout out Summer Ware, who made this for me during one of our meetings, and I'm so grateful for her. She is just amazing. I was talking to her about the journal, and she was like, just be Dr. Tad. And that is really what it's about. And you know what? To keep it real, to this is what this podcast and vodcast is about. Is about being who you be and building community in the meantime, and learning about each other and having this deep exploration that the world doesn't afford us. The world will draw the line and limit us on the way we look or the way we dress or our sexual preferences, and compartmentalize who we are. And we are whole beings with this entire lived experience that should be humanized. And we do that here on this show, even if there are times when we don't agree about something. We talk about it. Tony says yes, because this is a quest for mental wellness. Sigh. Yeah. So this journal is for you and for your wellness, and for you to just write it out and share what your experience has been, whether you are diagnosed with whatever, whether it's cancer, diabetes, hypertension, whatever it is, for a caregiver who has to care for someone who is in the process of healing, family members who have been impacted by some family members or loved ones' diagnosis. How did that make you feel, and what can we learn from that? I have had a pretty rough. I told y'all last week I had a rough week, and then it was a week of celebrations. Hey, Miss Odessa, good afternoon. She says, teach today. May God continue to bless you and keep you in God's arms of safety. Thank you so much. I do need your prayers and desire your prayers. Um, so there's always an opportunity to learn, right? Even in the journaling process, when you're releasing and you may be talking about how frustrated you are, there is an opportunity to learn. There's an opportunity to learn about yourself, about your body, about what triggers you, managing your triggers, healing your triggers, healing that which has happened to you in the past, to bring it forward, to learn so that you can move ahead and not end up making or doing the same things that may have caused you harm in the past. There are so many different beautiful ways that journaling and talking and building community that heals mind, body, and spirit. My dear friend, Reverend Dr. Tammy Denise, I normally, for whatever reason, don't listen to or don't engage with TD Jakes. And she sent me a video of this particular sermonic experience. And there were some things that I didn't agree with, but it didn't mean that I threw the whole sermon away, right? That's a whole podcast in and of itself, right? I don't know what's going on in the world, but we tend to throw people away when they say something that's on their minds that you don't agree with, or they do something, or their lifestyle is contrary to what you believe. And then we throw people away as if we are not living, breathing, beautiful, divine human beings. So I didn't throw the entire sermon away, but if you want to check it out, TD Jakes set aside 90 minutes. um, and it was called Timing is Everything. And it caused me to really reflect on what is going on in my world in this shift, right? There is something happening in my world, and although it's not, it's kind of like one of those moments where you give God that side eye, like, couldn't we have found a different way to teach me this lesson or to move me? But no, because God knows me, and God knows me well, and God loves me and knows that if this X didn't happen, Y would have never manifested. So, hey, Amanda, good to see you, my beloved. Angela is in the building. Yeah, 90 minutes, Angela. TD Jakes, 90 minutes. Yeah, 90 minutes. Everybody, everyone is stuck on the 90 minutes. Yes, I'm with you. It's just our human minds. We just, it's just tough taking in all that information for 90 minutes. Hey, Shirley, good to see you as always. Um, so yeah, 90 minutes. So it's kind of one of those things where if you are in the car for a long drive, or just kind of having a relaxing day, you're lying in the bed and you just want to experience it for 90 minutes. Yeah, but timing is everything, and that it was powerful. It really reminded me of the timing of what's happening in my world. No. Tanisha said, nah, B, send me the Cliff Notes version. Maybe I'll do a summary for you, just some. And he had 5 points. And he doesn't just list like the 5 points, right? He has to go in to each one. But the one thing I will say is this one little summary. You know, a seed, so timing is everything, right? So he was talking about, things are born of seeds, like apple seeds and wheat and other fruits or whatever, born out of a seed. And you have to plant the seed and make sure the ground is ready for the seed. But no matter what you do to prepare that seed, weeds are going to emerge. And underground, the roots entangle. So there are times, if timing is off, if you pull the weed, you'll actually kill the goodness that you are trying to produce, the harvest that you are trying to produce. Hey, Mama Lovey in the building, Miss Texas. Yes, ma'am. Um, so, uh, so he was talking about this seed and the weeds and how the roots entangle, and it was really good. It was really good. But I will offer a summary so that y'all don't have to sit through it for 90 minutes because I preach for 15, 20 minutes tops, and it's a wrap for me. It's a wrap for me. But what I wanted to hear from you was kind of alongside, with not throwing people away because of something someone does, says, experiences that might be contrary to what your beliefs are, what you do, what you say, how you live, how you choose to live your life, what, who do you choose to follow and honor and worship spiritually. Um, so two things. Brother Jeff Fard is in the building. What's up? This is perfect timing. Perfect timing. Um, so we all come with these different, ideologies, and we come with these different beliefs, and we come with different experiences, right? And how do we come together as a community and build on those shared experiences, even though those experiences are varied, they're different, they might even be contrary to what you believe. How do we bring that together without throwing folk away? Because we realize that in the Black diaspora, uh, even the mass incarceration is real for us, or uh, police brutality. And so I'm gonna bridge this in like with domestic violence. If someone is in a domestic violence relationship, where do you go to remedy that? Because the police don't have your best interests at heart. They do want to put you in jail, but not to rehabilitate you or to offer healing, or to move you into a space where you love yourself enough where you won't then be a perpetrator again. How do we build community? How do we love each other with this unconditional positive regard when the world continues to throw this negativity in our faces? And it's like, damn, why? I didn't do anything to white person, or white privilege, or Let's see. Amanda says, I think we first have to be honest with the reality that we really do throw people away when they don't fit in our norm. Full stop. Honesty, reflection. We just talked about the journal, right? This reflective journey of healing. You got to reflect on these behaviors. Thank you for that, Amanda. Coming to terms with being honest. You know, we're having some challenges here with those who do squeegee for to make a couple of dollars. Now, when I lived in New York, that was banned. I think maybe under Bloomberg or someone when they were cleaning up the city. But now people are being killed, whether it's persons in their cars or these young black men are being killed trying to make a dollar or so. And it can be quite assertive at times, but yet I don't want to throw these young brothers away. They trying to eat. They trying to make a living just like the rest of us. Let's see what else others have to say. Mother Carolyn said we have to respect who people are and value what they bring to the table. We have to value people and our differences. And with that, Mother Carolyn, full stop again. Thank you, Amanda and Mother Carolyn. How do we then love ourselves in order to love others in that way, where we hold people in positive regard, where we don't hold people's situations and circumstances against them, but we journey with them to a space not of white supremacy, not of capitalism, not of demeaning and degrading our brothers and our sisters, but in a way where we are building community and we are loving one another, whether you are working as you know a garbage collector or the CEO of an organization. Have to add this humanistic task. We have a humanistic task, as Paolo Freire says, to liberate ourselves from oppression, and that's through building community. Shirley says, I think sometimes you have to limit your exposure to what doesn't get with your belief system. It becomes self-preservation. For me, I throw no one away, but they tend to surround themselves with what matches their intent. That's pretty good, Shirley, and I want to put this back up here for a minute. Limit your exposure to what doesn't get with your belief system. So, limiting your exposure, and help me if I'm translating this right, Shirley, doesn't mean that I'm throwing you away. It means that right now I can't rock with you on that level, but we can still be in relationship. But it's going to be limited because you smoke and I don't. You party and I don't. And I'm using real superficial stuff, right? So when those moments happen, when we can come together with some mutual agreement and mutual honor and mutual respect, we can come together and then have those dialogues about building community and loving one another with this unconditional positive regard. How do we create those spaces to do that? Because as we know, the system has it rigged where one, the system is designed not to work for us. It has us redlined into these communities that are, with food deserts and high crime, low wages, lack of jobs, schools are horrible, the list goes on and on and on. How can that community survive and thrive? And yet, someone else is from a community where the schools are good, the jobs, are plentiful, and the pay is, equal to whatever is above and beyond what it is for the cost of living. And how do we even bring those two communities together without looking down, or looking like I can't deal with that because I'm better than that. So I love what you said, Shirley, limiting yourself, because there is a moment where there is a lack of understanding or misunderstanding, and sometimes you do have to step back and say, you know, I lived that life and I got out of it. So what can I do to be helpful to the next person to get out of that, so that they can be safe, they can be whole, not get out of it so that they can live some capitalistic life, wearing Balenciaga and, whatever. Let me see what else here. Shirley also says, absolutely, it's always love and never condemnation. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Hey, Reverend Christina Reed is in the building, my dear, dear friend. Um, so, one of the other questions that I have for community is, not only bringing these varying groups together to build community, because community and culture are shared experiences. So what experience are there that we can share, that we can build upon, right? So it might be something where we look back to, our families, and how my community was in Wagner projects. We were all from, some worked, some didn't. Some were young, some were older, some had big families, some had small families, some were hustling in the streets, some were hustling in the workforce. I mean, it was so many different things, but we were a family. We were a family. So how do we take those things that we might have in common, and create a space for us to build upon those shared, experiences? So I want to read something. So I love Paolo Freire, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. This is my go to. It's right next to my Bible, my Quran, womanist works, all of that. And I see you, Shirley. I'm going to get to you in a second. So he says in this book, I hope at least the following, the book, will endure my trust in the people, and my faith in men and women and non-binary and beloveds. I'm just going to add that. And in the creation of a world in which it will be easier to love. So this book is about trusting, building a trust, which starts with relationship, and then faith in human beings, so that we make it easy to love our beloveds and our communities. So Shirley says, share what you have. It is a resource, ideas, history. When you know better, you share. If one person can elevate, from what you have shared, you have done well. Amen. Full stop. That is absolutely beautiful. It is a resource. It is a resource. And a resource is something that you can tap into, like a well of water is a resource. Something that is going to add value and give you what you need for sustainability. And look who's in the building, the Reverend Dr. Amber Renee Jackson. Yes, she said my favorite, talking about the book. If you don't have this book, I mean it's not too heady, but it's just enough to get you to think. Like, I consider myself a thought provoker. I don't consider myself an influencer or whatever these other buzzwords are. But I just want people to think, because I think the art of critical thinking is lost. It's lost in our schools, it's lost in our communities. And critical thinking is kind of like going deeper. It's not just thinking on the surface, it's asking the why, the how, the who. It's asking, where is this coming from? What are the roots? What's giving this thing life? How is this happening? Right? So, how do we build community doing that? Jan is in the building. Good to see you, beloved. So, I want to talk about one last thing before we end. We have about 5 minutes left. And, in this day and age of social media and just access to, the internet, and we got 1,000 channels and we have 1,000 streaming services, and we are on information overload. And it is just my opinion that we just don't know what to do with all this information. And it's not making us any smarter, any wiser, any kinder, any more loving. It is really messing us up. And why do I say that? In the midst of this conversation, as we are learning how to build community, and thank you all for your beautiful comments. Just absolutely amazing. But we are on this information overload, right? Where we just feel like we could just say anything. Like, you have your trolls that hide behind some fake profile and feel like they can just say anything and be disrespectful and dishonor. Oftentimes if I'm on social media and I happen to read somebody's post that I don't agree with, I usually don't comment. And it's not because I'm silencing myself, but as TD Jakes said, timing is everything. So I have to ask myself at times, what good will come out of this if I comment on this post? And if I feel that something good and some good dialogue will happen, I will comment. If it's a dear friend that I can pick up the phone or text, I will do that. Because one thing I don't want us to do, is particularly in this group, is to silence ourselves, right? We have voice, we have power, we have agency, we have capacity, and we should use it, because people are constantly trying to silence us. But I want us to be wise. I want us to think before we speak. We just talked about this critical thinking that's missing. Think critically before we speak. We should speak. Audre Lorde says our silence will not protect us. So we must speak. That is something that is a mandate for us in the Black diaspora. And I want to read one other thing. It is the great humanistic and historical task of the oppressed to liberate themselves and their oppressors as well. The oppressors who oppress, exploit, and rape by virtue of their power cannot find in this power the strength to liberate either the oppressed or themselves. Only power that springs forth from weakness of the oppressed will sufficiently be strong enough to free both. So with that, we can't look to someone else for our freedom, for our liberation, for our voice, for our strength, for our building community. We cannot. Oh, hi, Caden. My nephew jumped in to say hi. I'm so proud of you. Um, we cannot look to someone else. We should not look to someone else because even when we are weak, we are strong. If we redefine, just like in this journal, I offer us to redefine healing for ourselves. In weakness, if you think of a palm tree in the middle of a storm, that palm tree can bend all the way to the ground and then come back up because it's amenable. It's not weak because it's not, standing strong and immovable, but because it's amenable, because it can move in different situations and readjust in certain situations. So when we talk about freeing ourselves and building community and not letting other people define who we are, because Audre Lorde says, um, if I let others define who I am, then I'll be crunched into their fantasies and eaten alive. We have to define who we are in this Black diaspora and come together and find all of those things, because there's more that brings us together than there is that separates us. Full stop. And finding that to build community, to build love, to build hope, to build sustainability, to build compassion, to build honor, all of that, to build an unconditional positive regard just because. And I understand all skin folk and kinfolk. I get all of that. We're staying on this lane, in this lane right now. We'll talk about that another time, because that is someone's upbringing and how whatever. That's a different conversation. Another conversation that I must say, that I must add as we close, for domestic violence. It's so these are not blanket statements that we are offering today, because if someone is in a domestic violence situation, they are called to go through professionals, go through the domestic violence hotline that's going across the screen, 1-800-799-SAFE. They are called to go through the process to safely leave their abuser and never turn around. Do they throw them away? I say no, but I do say they never go back. There's a difference, because I had to walk away and knowing that I wanted my healing, mind, body, and soul. I wanted to learn more about myself and forgive, because forgiveness was for me, not for the abuser. And never having to tell him or her that I forgive you, or no, you stay away. Because as we've seen, unfortunately, and we honor the woman, I don't know her name, I don't have it in front of me, but the woman who was killed by her partner. I believe they had 4 or 5 little girls together, and he attacked her in the van and stabbed her to death. And she did have a protective order, and so on and so forth. So that complex situation is a little different. So when we're building community, there are some caveats. There are some pieces of critical thinking that must happen. There are some protections that must be put in place. There are some mental wellness opportunities and help that's needed. There is consequences for your actions. So those things don't just get erased because we're Black and we're trying to build community. Those things exist to learn from them, to become better, to learn to do better, to learn to love ourselves, to learn to love others. If I don't love myself, it makes it virtually impossible for me to understand what it is to love and to honor someone else. So, honor and love and peace and blessings to all those who are in domestic violence situations, getting out of domestic violence situations, already out of domestic violence situations. Be safe, seek help, don't do it on your own. Don't think, keep it in your head and in your heart. Get the help that you need. If you are a friend, family, or you can also call the domestic violence helpline to know what to say, because some say the wrong things. Just leave. Oh, I would never. And you're shaming the victim. And I'm sick of it. And that's what we're going to talk about on our next episode, about how the victim has to jump through hoops to be safe. And the perpetrator's just chilling, still going to church, still going to work, still, living in the house that the partner probably had to leave. And we'll talk a lot about men and women, because that's where the statistics are happening. But I offer this to flow and to translate into same gender loving abusive relationships, or women who are abusive to men. So we're going to close with Angela saying amen. Yes, amen. So I encourage you to buy the book on this last day, for $19.99. It's an e-journal. It's a fillable form, so you can type in journal right on your computer, your phone, your iPad, or whatever. So get your book. If you want to gift the book to someone or to persons, you can always email Tawana at thedrtad.com. Devin, what's going on? Good to see you. Yes, amen. Darlene, I love you to the moon and beyond. Christina said thank you. Had to school a friend of mine last week. Ugh, it's easier said than done. Yes, ma'am. And I am always here if anyone needs any support, guidance, help, or just a journey with you and to talk with you. I am here. So purchase your book today so that you can get it at $19.99, and let's heal together. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. This is Dr. Tad, and this has been Tuesdays with Tawana. And I look forward to communing with you on next week. I love you all dearly. I'm out. Peace.